Well, it's been a little while. Alright, look, I got two explanations. One is my schooling started back, I was finishing up my first college degree, I started working a new job, and I was busy all around. I graduated from high school this past summer, and it was a very busy time for me. That definitely was part of the reason I have not uploaded in, okay, it's been a little while. But the second explanation is not quite as valid. It's simply I really didn't have all that many movies that I had been watching or I could talk about. I was and still am fed up with the current state of Marvel and Star Wars and Disney as a whole. I went to the theater back in the summer to try to watch Nope, and because the movie was rated R, I couldn't see the film even after I bought a ticket to the movie and was handing it to the person standing by the movie rooms. It was a little frustrating, but hey, I got to watch Where the Crawdads Sing. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day because that was a very interesting film. Anyway, enough chatter, enough horsing around, I'm back, and I'm super excited to be reviewing some movies again. Over this Christmas break, I had a chance to watch a lot of movies. Knives Out, Glass Onion, Top Gun, Maverick, Bullet Train, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Nope, The Banshees of Inisherin, and Now You See Me 1 and 2. Yeah, I watched a lot of movies. Some of these films, in fact, most of these films, I really enjoyed, and I'm super excited to talk about them here today. And just like the title says, we're gonna kick my YouTube comeback off with a video about Knives Out. Now, I will say, I was hesitant to watch the Knives Out movies, frankly because I really thought that nothing could top the 1985 murder mystery Clue movie. But I gave in, bit the onion, and decided to watch the first Knives Out movie and the new Glass Onion movie. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the thing. I need to get this out of the way before I talk about anything about the actual movie. These movies, both the first Knives Out and Glass Onion, were directed by Rian Johnson. And you see, I'm one of those people that has a special place in my heart for Rian Johnson. I will never, ever, 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 ever forgive him for what he did to Star Wars with The Last Jedi, and for directing one of the worst Star Wars fighting scenes. No, one of the worst fighting scenes. Sorry, one of the worst scenes I have ever seen. I mean, what in the world is he doing? But, despite my absolute disdain for Rian Johnson, I will have to give him credit for these movies. The Knives Out franchise is a very interesting take on murder mystery movies. It's a murder mystery but with a signature twist. Johnson does do a fantastic job of weaving clues and hiding evidence right in front of your very eyes. You always get pieces throughout the movie, but never the full story. Just some of the full story. And then near the end of the film, Benoit Blanc will beautifully weave it together and make it make sense. And I'm sorry, Ben Shapiro, but it sounds to me like you're complaining that there was an unforeseen plot twist in a mystery movie. That is the whole point of a murder mystery movie. Anyway, the first Knives Out movie is a very solid movie. I definitely liked a good many things about this film. The cast is a star-studded cast and super fun to watch, and each actor or actress of the main family really does a great job of portraying a rude and unpleasant scumbag that all they really care about is money. I have to say that Chris Evans was easily my favorite part about the movie. His performance was just so awesome, and anytime Captain America plays somebody that's not heroically and Tim Tebow-esque perfect to a fault, I just always love to see it. Daniel Craig does a great job of playing a cunning detective, and as I said earlier, the way he weaves the story together at the end of the film is rather brilliant. There definitely were a great deal of awesome things and funny things in this movie. However, I would not be doing the film proper justice if I did not mention the negatives to this movie as well. Now, first of all, the film wasn't really all that interesting up until the point that Chris Evans showed up and told everyone to eat crap, which, by the way, is my favorite scene of the movie. Because, you see, it wasn't really a mystery that left the viewer questioning who did what. Early in the film, we saw that Harlan, quite literally, did kill himself. Even though there was the question of what happened with the medicine that Marta gave him, regardless, that's not how he died. He did legitimately kill himself. Now, the twist is that we found out he wasn't about to imminently die, due to Ransom being a cunning half-murderer, kind of, but still, it didn't really make the stakes all that high, and I didn't really find myself really engaged in the first half of the movie. The first half of the movie is pretty much how Marta can lie her way out of something that we already definitively know, and I thought that this took a little bit out of the story for the first half, but I will have to say that everything after Captain America showed up was quite enjoyable. However, one thing that I found not enjoyable all throughout the whole entirety of the movie was the ridiculousness of the when I lie, I throw up thing. Okay, look, I get that you needed a storytelling mechanic to drive the plot along. Whenever there was a tough situation the writers encountered, they needed a storytelling mechanic to move the narrative along, and I get that and I acknowledge that. However, the narrative they chose was that whenever the protagonist of our story tells even a half lie or a full lie, doesn't matter, she will almost instantaneously puke. I have quite literally never heard of that in my life. If this was a small joke or something, or she did it once at the beginning of the movie, I would not care. But this was a major plot point of the movie. In fact, it's the whole reason why they solved the case. It's the main reason why Ransom's plan got fully foiled at the end of the movie when she threw up in his face. In fact, I thought this point was so stupid that I did some of my own research to even see if this was something legitimately feasible. Look at this article from Fast Company back in 2019 discussing this very topic about this very movie. Look what it says here in this paragraph. I've never had a patient who got nauseous or throws up every time they lied, said Dr. Cara Gross Margolis, a member of the American Gastroenterology Association. But I think it's a little bit of the stretching of a phenomenon that we see quite often, which is how significant anxiety can lead to nausea and vomiting. So, it was something that was stretched out of proportion. Throwing up when anxious was common, but never this much, this quickly after somebody told a lie. The only explanation regarding this phenomenon was at the very beginning of the movie, and all Marta says was that she's had this thing since she was a child. And I just cannot get over the fact that it's a stupid plot mechanic, and I cannot just look past it. Now, it doesn't make the movie itself bad, and the movie is not a bad movie. It was a good movie with, in my opinion, some bad moments. After watching Glass Onion and this first Knives Out movie back to back, I kind of realized something. You see, when you have a movie that is as convoluted and complicated and has so many unexpected plot twists and turns, it's really not surprising that you see things that you could pick holes at. I mean, the narrative of the story is a very confusing and complicated one, like I just said. So it's, again, not surprising that there are some things present that just don't make sense. I mean, for instance, there's a list of things that you could just go through. Maybe they're small things, but albeit they're still things that you could poke holes at and say, well, that didn't really make sense. Why did Blanc, this so-called well-known, very good detective, take somebody in Marta who was not proven to be 100% innocent along on the case? How did Walt know where Marta's backdoor entrance was, and if this was just common knowledge, how come the press wasn't right outside of her apartment? And also, how in the world did he know that her mom was an illegal immigrant when they made very clear that most people in the family did not know that Marta's mom was an illegal immigrant? Why did Harlan not start to feel like he wasn't actually dying after like a whole 5 minutes after he supposedly overdosed? You would think that he would eventually start to feel some side effects of that, or some beginning effects of you shutting down, but no, he didn't feel anything after that long after supposedly overdosing. Why did Marta's live vomit delay for this long in the scene where Ransom confesses? Why, out of completely nowhere, did Marta's car not start in this scene? Why did Fran refer to Ransom by a name that pretty much nobody referred to him as the whole entire movie? And how did Blanc know Marta would come outside the house this way? You see, there's a ton of like little things you can poke holes in and say, well, that doesn't really make sense. And if you do that, well, then both movies don't really seem that good anymore. So it's kind of like what I've talked about in the past about how you just have to look past some things and enjoy the good parts. Yes, all of these points collectively knock the movie down for me a little bit, but I can look past some of these and just enjoy the parts that were good and fairly criticize the parts that were bad. But between the laughs that I got out of Chris Evans, Daniel Craig's acting, and the satisfying and interestingly unexpected ending, I would probably have to give this movie a 7-ish out of 10. Not bad by any means, but for the reasons I said, not the greatest movie by any means either. I honestly do think that it is overhyped by a few individual scenes, such as Ransom's monologue at the end of the movie, and once you take a step back to evaluate this movie as a whole from start to finish, and evaluate it in the genre of murder mystery, I really do think that it's not quite as good as everybody says it is. So in conclusion, I would have to say it's a solid 7 out of 10. Not the greatest movie in the world, but definitely worth watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please stay tuned. I have so many videos coming out soon. Every single movie that I said I had watched at the beginning of the video is going to get its own review by me. And next up, I'm going to review Glass Onion. I didn't want to include it in this video because I didn't want this video to be too long, but I'm super excited to talk about that one. Until next time, have a great day.